goods, whether it's human trafficking, whether it's drug trafficking, arms smuggling, terrorist financing.
But the other aspect of it is, how are products like that being made? And the sellers on those platforms, because there's such low amounts of money.
We might have just touched on a certain area, but how significant do you believe this really is to the threat of the global financial system? You know, you've pinpointed a couple of areas, but actually, is it systemic? Is it in there and we don't see it? That's my question. Hayley, have you got some audio? Sorry if I put you on the spot.
You go,
Hayley,
Steve.
do you want to go first? Oh, okay,
No,
fine. Look, Mark, you know, it is, how significant a threat is it? It is the threat against the world, really. Everything pins around money, to my understanding. You know, whether it's fake goods, whether it's human trafficking, whether it's drug trafficking, arms smuggling, terrorist financing, it all needs that one single factor, which is financing. So, we unfortunately, I think quite often the agenda, though, it has been sort of hijacked a wee bit by governments. Their focus is on corruption, is on tax evasion. It's on these sort of areas because it's revenue back to the state. But actually, the real problem isn't there. I mean, that's part of it, but I think the bigger problem is all these other crimes all hang their hat off of finance. And that's why the AML CFT system, its intent right at the beginning was to help banks and other financial players look at and report suspicious activity. It wasn't to build an audit compliance industry. It was really, the intent was to help find suspicious activity around this finance, because it is right at the heart of all of these activities, as the video highlighted.
Yeah, and I think, Hayley, just to bring you in here, I think one of the things you spoke to me earlier about was purely about some of these platforms, and I'm not going to name platforms, but some of these platforms where maybe my wife might buy something on it because it looks really cheap, and suddenly she gets this thing come through. Now, obviously, it's a challenge to tracing those things, but I know you've got some stories around some of that.
Yeah, I mean, this is really bringing it out of the area of real expertise and the micro kind of discussions around financial crime, and bringing it back into that reality. And yes, those platforms we talk about that keep coming up as when you type in a Google search, you're looking for something new to a conference. And the top hits are always these particular platforms. Now, obviously, there are issues associated with those platforms to do with counterintelligence issues and things like that. But the other aspect of it is, how are products like that being made? And the sellers on those platforms, because there's such low amounts of money, but in vast quantities going through there, it's an easy way to launder and hide money that you're trying to push through these systems. So when someone says, oh, I've never had a problem with such and such platform, they've never stole my credit card details, it's very, very short-sighted around how your choices are impacting victims and our financial systems. So, you are allowing people to launder money through those systems. You are allowing people to run sweatshops through those systems. And yeah, wow, you look great because you saved, $300 and, spent $20 on a three-piece suit. But it's not a win. And I don't think it's something to brag about at all. And I really think that there needs to be a bigger push socially to stop using those kinds of platforms. There used to be, big social movements around using ethically sourced things, and that's kind of died down a bit. But it's on the same vein. We're now seeing not only, wildlife and issues like that. We are seeing this directly impact real people, humans that you saw the young girl in the video, and she says she's chained to a bed. The other one says she's chained to a sewing machine. And this is not just optics, like for funsies. This is real. This is happening to real people. And so I think we need to all stop and think, especially the main purchasers in the house are usually the women, and we're mothers, and we have to think, Imagine if that was my child who was pulled out of school and was forced to make this, I don't know, suit or t-shirt or jacket because some person didn't want to spend an extra $100 on something that was made without slave labor, without a trafficked person, without going through those models of laundering with little bits of money at high volume through these stores. That's what we're seeing, and I think people do not understand that is the issue. It's not just they're going to steal my credit card details, or they're a state actor that's going to gain access to my computer. Well, that doesn't affect me. Well, I'm sorry, it does, and you are contributing to the harm of vulnerable people.
Yeah, I mean, there's big campaigns in many Western countries about the provenance of what you put in your mouth, and where was that beef raised, or where was that grown, or was it organic? But not so much about what you put on your feet or what you put on your back. Now, perhaps that's where it starts. There have been some campaigns around fashion and sweatshops, but I think what we're uncovering is a bit more deeper level than this, because it's actually who owns that sweatshop, what does that facilitate, where does that actually come, where does that end up, why was it there in the first place, and who's funding it and who's doing that. I think that's where we're going. There is an education piece out there to